That iconic Star Wars moment. Obi-Wan waves his hand, cool as ever, and says,
"These aren't the droids you're looking for."
But here's the twist. Your brain has a built-in firewall that makes this impossible. No amount of hand-waving or power of suggestion can override the billions of neurons working to protect your free will. Neuroscientists have shown that your mind isn't just passively resisting Jedi tricks, it's actively biologically wired to reject them. Today, we're breaking down the real neural mechanisms that make you immune to mind control. Your prefrontal cortex is the ultimate Jedi killer. But how does this mental security system actually work? Inside your head, there's a firewall more advanced than any sci-fi tech. Every belief and memory you have is woven into a tangled web of neural pathways, billions of connections linking ideas, experiences, and instincts. When someone tries to slip in a new suggestion, your brain doesn't just accept it. Instead, the prefrontal cortex runs a full background check, cross-referencing the newcomer against everything you already know. If the new idea doesn't fit, it gets flagged instantly. Neuroscience shows this firewall in action. When you hear something that clashes with your core knowledge, like a stranger insisting you ignore the obvious, a brainwave called mismatch negativity fires off. This happens before you even realize you're doubting the claim. Your mind's first response is automatic skepticism, not blind acceptance. That's why Jedi mind tricks don't land. Your brain's defense system is already on high alert, filtering out contradictions and protecting your mental terrain. Think about how memories work. They're not stored in isolation. Each fact is tied to dozens of others. If you suddenly tried to believe these aren't the droids, your brain would have to overhaul everything. Visual memories, trust in your senses, your understanding of who's talking to you. This creates cognitive dissonance, a real mental discomfort where your neurons resist making those changes. The more an idea clashes with your established network, the harder it is for your brain to accept it. Your skepticism isn't just a learned habit, it's hardwired. Even babies show surprise when the world doesn't match their expectations, proving that this system kicks in from the start. As you grow, layers of critical thinking stack up, making your brain even better at spotting nonsense. The prefrontal cortex acts like a vigilant editor, weighing evidence, checking for consistency, and guarding your autonomy at every step. So while your brain's firewall keeps out unwanted commands and wild suggestions, there's another trick it plays, one that makes you feel like you have more power over the world than you actually do. You might feel like your choices shape every outcome around you. Psychologists call this the illusion of control, the tendency to overestimate our influence over chance events. It's why you might blow on dice before rolling them, or clutch your lucky lottery ticket, convinced your actions matter even in pure games of chance. Your brain isn't just making things up for fun. It's constructing a sense of agency from the thinnest threads of involvement. This illusion kicks in strongest when the situation feels familiar, or when you get to make a choice, like picking your own lottery numbers. The moment you're personally invested, your mind treats random outcomes as if they're in your hands. Even if the odds don't budge, your brain amps up the connection between what you do and what actually happens. That's not just a harmless quirk. In real life, this bias shapes the way people make decisions, from sticking with those lottery tickets to doubling down on risky bets. You see the illusion of control everywhere. In casinos, players throw dice harder for high numbers and softer for low ones, as if their force matters. People press crosswalk buttons or thermostats, believing their tiny actions have instant effects, even when the systems are disconnected or delayed. In one virtual reality study, participants who only believed they controlled an elevator felt just as in charge as those who actually did. The brain fills in the gaps, turning a feeling into a fact. The illusion gets even stronger under pressure. When the stakes are high or the environment is competitive, your mind grabs onto any sense of influence it can find. That's why people in stressful jobs or high-stakes games often become overconfident, convinced they're steering the outcome. But this isn't about being manipulated from the outside. It's self-deception, built right into the way we process the world. Why does the brain do this? There's an evolutionary advantage. Believing you have control motivates you to act, to try, to survive. If early humans thought nothing they did mattered, they might have given up too soon. But the downside is clear. This bias can blind you to real risks, making you stick with bad decisions just because you feel in charge. Even when reality pushes back, your brain wants to keep the story going, one where you're always at the center. Interestingly, the illusion of control fades in depression. People with depressive symptoms often see their lack of influence more accurately, a phenomenon called depressive realism. But for most of us, the brain keeps the optimism dialed up, maintaining the fiction that we're always pulling the strings. So if Jedi mind tricks can't override your sense of agency, what does real influence look like? The answer isn't a snap of the fingers or a wave of the hand. Real persuasion works differently, and it's everywhere, especially in the world of advertising. So if force waving won't work, how do we really shape minds? Real-world persuasion is a slow, strategic process that works with your brain's built-in defenses, not against them. Take advertising. Companies know you won't just buy something because they tell you to. Instead, they build trust and familiarity over time, embedding their message into the web of beliefs you already have. Think about the last time a commercial actually made you trust a brand. That's not mind control. It's careful, repeated messaging designed to fit your mental blueprint. Expert endorsements show how this works. When a celebrity like Bill Cosby endorsed Jell-O, it resonated because he matched the product's family-friendly vibe. The key is expertise that feels authentic. Our brains are wired to respond more strongly to trusted authorities. Scans reveal that when an expert speaks, the caudate nucleus, an area tied to trust and learning, lights up. You're not being hypnotized. You're evaluating the source, weighing their credibility, and letting that influence your attitude. But there's more to persuasion than just who's talking. For a message to stick, your brain has to remember it. The medial temporal lobe gets to work during memory encoding, making sure you can recall that catchy slogan or product detail later. Yet memory alone isn't enough. Attitude change happens in parallel, through separate neural circuits. You might remember an ad perfectly but still not care about the product. Real persuasion needs both. The message must be memorable, and your brain has to reassess what it values. This reassessment is subtle. When a trusted expert presents something new, your prefrontal cortex and caudate nucleus team up to reevaluate its worth. It's a gradual process. Your brain takes time to adjust, weighing new information against old beliefs. Ads that actually change minds do it by nudging you to reconsider, not by forcing instant compliance. And when something doesn't fit, when a message clashes with your reality, your brain flags it fast. Regions like the insular cortex and amygdala kick in, handling conflict and discomfort. That's why you don't just accept wild claims or obvious contradictions. Real persuasion works by aligning with your existing mental networks, not trying to overwrite them. So if neuroscience says even the best persuasion needs time and trust, what about the latest tech that promises to shortcut that process? There's a lot of hype about machines that could supposedly hack your mind, but how close are we really to turning science fiction into reality? Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, are pushing the boundaries of what's possible when humans interact with machines. These systems create a direct link between your brain and external devices, bypassing nerves and muscles entirely. That's a breakthrough for medicine. Imagine a stroke patient regaining movement, or someone with paralysis moving a robotic arm just by thinking. But the reality is far from the effortless mind control seen in Star Wars. BCIs don't read your every thought. Instead, they operate by translating specific trained mental commands into actions. Users spend weeks or months learning to generate brainwave patterns that the system recognizes. For example, imagining squeezing your hand might signal a robotic gripper to close. The technology can't decode your random thoughts or access your memories, so your secret plans and your grocery list aren't up for grabs. Media hype often paints BCIs as mind-reading gadgets that can download memories or upload skills. In truth, neuroscience hasn't cracked how the brain stores or retrieves complex information. Even the most advanced BCIs can only help paralyzed users type a few words per minute by imagining handwriting. That's an incredible leap for assistive tech, but not even close to Jedi-level powers. There are two main types of BCIs: non-invasive and invasive. Non-invasive systems use electrodes placed on the scalp, picking up faint electrical signals through bone and tissue. These signals are noisy and require users to stay still, limiting speed and accuracy. Invasive BCIs, with electrodes implanted directly into the brain, provide clearer data, but come with surgical risks and long-term stability challenges. Both approaches face tough trade-offs between safety accuracy, and user comfort. Ethics and privacy are front and center in BCI research. Any technology that could influence thoughts or behaviors raises serious questions. Could someone's intentions be misinterpreted? Could a device be hacked? Researchers are working to set strict standards and safeguards, especially as BCIs move from the lab to real-world use. Despite the excitement, BCIs are about restoring lost abilities, not overriding your will. They require extensive training, individual calibration, and still operate much slower than even basic human movement. We've charted millions of stars but still haven't mapped the trillions of synapses that encode thought. The science is promising, but the idea of instant mind control remains pure fiction. Still, the way we talk about BCIs reveals something deeper about how we understand our own minds. We're quick to believe we know what's happening inside our heads, but reality is often more complicated. Let's talk about a brain glitch almost everyone has: the introspection illusion. We believe our own self-analyses are more reliable than they really are. When you try to explain why you picked one snack over another, or why you acted a certain way, you're not replaying a mental recording. You're inventing a story after the fact, filling in the blanks with whatever sounds reasonable. This isn't just self-reflection, it's your brain building a personal myth. Psychologist Emily Pronin broke the illusion down into 4 patterns. We override what we actually do with what we think we did. We trust our own explanations over others. We ignore our own inconsistencies but spot them in everyone else. And we always give extra weight to our personal justifications. That's how you end up with the bias blind spot, the idea that everyone else is biased, but you're the lone voice of reason. You see this play out in real life all the time. In experiments, people confidently explain their choices, why they liked one face, one jam, or one t-shirt without realizing the options were secretly swapped. Their reasons sound logical, but they're pure invention. Psychologists Richard Nisbet and Timothy Wilson showed that introspection gives us access to mental content, what we feel or choose, but not to the actual processes behind those choices. You might know you prefer Coke to Pepsi, but your brain will make up a story to explain it, whether or not it's true. The introspection illusion doesn't just warp your sense of self, it shapes how you see everyone else. When people are asked if they'd conform to a group, they claim they'd stand alone, immune to peer pressure. But in reality, most people go along with the crowd, then deny it ever happened. The illusion keeps you blind to subtle social influences, even as they shape your decisions. It also messes with your predictions. You'll swear you'd help a stranger in need or make a unique choice, but studies show you're usually wrong. People are actually better at guessing what others will do because they judge by actions, not made-up stories. Marketers know exactly how this works. You might insist you're not swayed by ads, but your brain's already been nudged by repeated exposure. When you reach for that familiar brand, your mind invents a reason. It just tastes better, while the real driver is habit. The most powerful part? This illusion locks you into certainties, whether it's politics or personal habits. You treat your self-generated explanations as hard facts. But those stories are built on shaky ground, distorted by lack of feedback, hidden motives, and simple wishful thinking. It's no wonder Jedi mind tricks fall flat in the real world. If someone tried to override your will, your brain would reject the command unless it fit the story you already believe. Real influence has to sneak in through your own narrative, not force its way past your defenses. So, what does all this tell us about the fantasy of mind control? The real science behind your brain is more impressive than any Jedi mind trick. Neural firewalls, cognitive filters, and the introspection illusion all make your mind a fortress against outside control. The Force might be fiction, but your prefrontal cortex is the real defender, sifting through every suggestion and keeping your thoughts your own. Your brain's defenses are more impressive than any movie magic. No force required. Subscribe for more science versus fiction debunks.